I was recently in Kenya doing a field course. What did we do? We did loads of things. So this is going to be like a multi-part series. Today, I'm going to talk about the game drives. The animal that we saw the most were dik-diks. Two species of dik-diks were found where we were, the Gunthus dik-dik and the Dirk's dik-dik. The difference is more in the nose. Dik-diks have a preorbital gland, which is the weird black spot you see near the eye, which secretes scent marks, which they use to mark their territory. They also use piles of feces to mark their territories as well. Dik-diks are monogamous, so you usually always see them in pairs. If you only see one, the pair might be nearby. If you see three, it could be a pair and its offspring. Tell the difference between the male and female dik-diks, because the males have the horns, and then the females have that really cool looking mohawk. Another animal we saw were the black-backed jackals, which are also monogamous like the dik-diks, which is really sweet. So you always see them in pairs. If you see three or more, it's a family, probably, most likely. Both the parents take care of the offspring, or they've got helpers, so cooperative breeders, which help take care of their young. Went to Olbejeta, which is known to have the last two white rhinos. We saw black-backed jackal that we named Mourn because he almost sacrificed himself to the lions. We're watching some lions in the tall grass. In the video over here, I'll show. You can see him walking, or her, walking straight towards where we saw the lions last. Luckily, nothing happened. He was unscathed. We also had impala. And now, in the impala, the males are the ones with the horns. And you can find them either in a breeding group, where it's one male and many females, multiple females, or you'd see multiple males together, which is known as a bachelor herd. And they have these bachelor herds for vigilance purposes. It's the many eyes hypothesis. This is what you see in many other animals to help increase their survival. Impalas can actually control when they give birth. They can delay their birth to 2 to 3 months. Tend to give birth in the afternoon because that increases, that's the best chance of survival for the offspring. Impala are also one of the only known antelopes which are known to do something called allo-grooming, which is a type of reciprocal grooming. Males tend to live 10 years, whereas the females live to 12 to 14 years in the wild. For reticulated giraffes, the male can live up to 25 years, whereas the females can live up to 28 years in the wild. Males fight over females using a technique called necking. They hit them. Actually, I got a video of it. It's actually pretty cool. It's not what you think it is. And to tell the difference between a male and female giraffe, you look at their ossicones. It's the horns you see. They're not called horns. They're called ossicones. Now, the males have more of a U shape between the horns. I got really confused at this point because I thought it was talking about the top of the horn, but it's actually between the horns. So the males have a U shape, whereas the females have an upside down V shape. People also call it like the party hat. Another way to tell the difference between the male and female is the number of ossicones they've got. Males tend to have 3, females tend to have 2. I think the best way to see the reproductive system, but there are times where you can't see that, so you just have to face. Reticulated giraffes can run up to 35 miles per hour, which is 56 kilometers per hour. Can you guess how many neck invertebrates they have? They've got the same number as we do. They've got 7 neck vertebrates. They're just really long. They've also got the world's largest heart, because they have to pump the blood up to their brain. They've also got blackish tongues, and that's so they don't get sunburn. Reticulated giraffes, social groups, very fluid. Sometimes they're in big herds, and when they're together in herds, when they're moving, it's called a journey. If they're standing still, it's called a tower. Sometimes they can be solitary, but if they're in a group, they can actually be about a kilometer apart. Zebras. There are 2 species at Impala. There's the Grevy zebra, which worldwide is quite rare, and there is the plain zebra, also known as the common zebra. Now, to tell the difference between these two, the Grevy have more rounded ears, whereas the plains have more pointed ears. The Grevy is bigger than the plains. Their stripes don't go over their stomach like plains do, and the stripes tend to be a bit thinner in the Grevy compared to the plains. The Grevies and the plains can interbreed, however their offspring tend not to be fertile. Different types of hoof prints compared to other Grevies. With other Grevies they tend to be small groups or solitary, but you can actually find them, or at least we found them quite often together with a group or a herd of plains gazelles. We had the Gratz gazelle and the Thompson's gazelle. The difference between the two: Grat gazelle is slightly larger. Now the Thompson gazelle usually has a black stripe across its body. Where we were, the Grant's gazelles seem to have it as well. A different way to differentiate between the two species: while looking at the posterior side, white markings on the back. If it's a Grant's gazelle, the white markings goes over the tail, whereas the Thompson gazelle, the white markings stop at the beginning of the tail. Different horns. Both of these gazelle species, both male and female, have horns. Horns curve more inwards at the top, whereas Thompsons are a bit shorter and curve backwards. Their prints look quite similar, but I'll show you a picture and you can sort of tell the difference between them. We also got to see rock hyraxes, which we usually saw in the mornings. We also saw one in a tree. Might have been a tree hyrax or a bush hyrax. Believe it or not, rock hyraxes and African elephants, or just elephants in general, have a recent common ancestor together. There's both evidence in the molecular side of it and their morphology. They've both got tusks. Rock hyrax and the elephant have hoof-like nails. The hippopotamus can hold their breaths up to 7 minutes underwater. They can also make their own sunscreen. They can live around 55 years in the wild, and 18% of their weight is made up by their skin. We also saw vervet monkeys. They spend their time both in trees and on the ground. We saw them more around the camp than we did on the game drives, but we did see them on the game drives at times. The male vervet monkeys have blue balls, and the more blue they are, the more testosterone they have, and the more attractive they are for the female. Another type of monkey that we saw were the baboons. In the evening, they hang out in trees, and that's because they've got a higher chance of survival from leopards. On the trees, each branch is sort of like their own little room. So each family or individuals have their own little space on the branch. Both baboons and chimpanzees, posterior end, has sort of this cushioning. Chelicaliocytes. I've butchered that. But they're there so they can actually sit more comfortably. We also saw chimps at Olpagetta in their sanctuary. There's one chimp had learnt how to hotwire the electrical fence, so they've managed to turn the electricity off. They'd all escape, and then they had to bargain with food for them to come back. There's also another chimp in which we weren't allowed to take photos or videos of because he will throw rocks at you. Fair enough. We also saw spotted hyenas. Spotted hyena kills 90% of their food, and they steal the rest, which is known as kleptoparasites, which I've probably butchered as well. The female hyenas have a pseudopenis, which they reproduce through and give birth, so it's not fun to be a female hyena. Mortality rate for their pups is quite high, and sometimes pups can suffocate in the pseudopenis during birth. Spotted hyena is the largest of the hyenas. They are nocturnal, and they have a laugh when they're scared or nervous. I haven't heard one. We had a night drive out of the 6 game drives we've had. Saw, I believe, it was a wild cat. Some thought it was a domesticated cat. I didn't think that was realistic, as the nearest town was over an hour away. We did see what we thought was an arid wolf at the top, but looking back at the photos, it might have been a striped hyena, but I'm not too sure. And warthogs are called warthogs because they've got warts on their face, and they actually have the warts on the face to protect themselves. They are fighting because they've got tusks as well. Have burrows which they live in, and they actually go posterior end first down so they can face the predator. Females have family groups with their offspring, and the males usually leave in their first year and can form bachelor herd, and they can live up to 12 years in the wild. We also saw greater kudu, where the horns in adults have 2 complete spirals. The ends of the horn point back and out. The male's probably around 3 years old. Males can live up to 9 years, where the females can live up to 12 years. Shrub toes will scare you in the middle of the night when going to the bathroom or the shower. They live solitarily, and they can actually actually reabsorb their fetus if they don't think the conditions are right to give birth in. We've also got the Bisa oryx, which I may have mispronounced, which have long straight horns pointing backwards. They're somewhat territorial and they can live up to 20 years. I didn't get to see them personally, although they were in one of my dreams. Fish babies. They jump around. There's actually a study where it was recorded that they jumped up to 50 meters on the ground. They're omnivores. Wildfires can expose them to their predators. And I think one of the coolest things were the lions. We actually had lionesses in Olbigetta come right up to our car. Lions are philopatric as well, where the females stay together, which they're related to. The total number of individuals that we saw collectively was 4,059 individuals. Species-wise, we saw a total of 34 different species. Now birds, that's another story.